program is a collection of stooges talking about the happenings in the automotive detailing industry. It is meant to be comedic and informative. The opinions expressed on the show do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of their peers, their boss, or their ad partners. There may be some cuss words because that's how grown-ups talk in the real world. If you are a young, please seek permission before watching or listening any further.
Welcome to the Detail Solutions Podcast. My name is Alex Russell and I'm your host. All right, it's What's on Your Mind Wednesday, and hopefully I've got a doozy for you. But before then, we're going to get into the usuals, right? So the detailsolutionspodcast.com, that's the website. You guys know it. You visited it probably once or twice. It's going to have all the links to where you can find us on socials, where you can listen to us. If you're just stumbling upon us and not sure. What's up, Paul? How you doing, buddy? It also has a preferred vendor page. Some wonderful ad partners who sponsor the podcast for me to be able to bring it to you in the way that I do. And they also will give you a discount code. Or give you a little bit of a kickback when you buy some of their goods and services. So when you go to the preferred vendor page, you'll be able to click the link, take you right to their website. It's going to have the code or the mentions so that you guys can save some money. Hopefully they'll continue to spend some money with me. We'll all have a good laugh. Hashtag money funny. And then we also have the drip shop. If you want to buy any shirts, support the brand, rep the Kong shirts or the logo, that's where you're going to find it there. YouTube, we are on YouTube. Still trying to grow that. Obviously, it was never really big for me, but still got it up. So our new detail channel, our new YouTube channel is the Detail Solutions Podcast, and then the number 1. So the Detail Solutions Podcast 1, that's where you can find us on YouTube. Go over there, like, share, follow, subscribe. I think I uploaded the Esme video. I've got to get a couple of the other ones up as well. I think I might have done the Stark one. I'm not sure. But I got to get some more of those up when I get some time. Also on TikTok, the Detail Solutions Pod. I've been having a grand old time with Opus, breaking these down into cool little clips and posting those up pretty regularly on TikTok. And then I'm trying to get them also up onto the Instagram page as reels and stuff. So if you want to check those out. Let's see what else. We got the training at Reds that I'm going to be at. It's May 3rd through the 5th. It's the Jess Carr / Angel Wax training at Reds in Marietta. I'm going to be there having a grand old time with my good old buddy Noxie. Hopefully we'll have the waxes by then. Maybe we'll do a giveaway, get some waxes out or something while we're there. So if you want to come to that, go check that out on the Angel Wax page. We also have one with Aquatech coming up. I got to get the dates on it. I believe it's in April. That's going to be out at Rupes. If you guys want to do some training out at Rupes, learn from Jason, Rose, and Sarah, and then get certified with Aquatech with Jen. I unfortunately will not be at that one. This is a Jen show for this one. But check that out. That's on the Rupes page. You can go and find that training there. I promise I'll have the the correct dates for you next time around. Um, Other than that, please go like, share, follow, subscribe, hit that notification button anywhere that you're listening to us. I brought him in early. You guys can see that Kyle is my guest tonight. So let's do a commercial break and we'll come back and get talking with Kyle about some training. So we'll be right back. Your ultimate partner in automotive detailing. Elevate your detailing game with our premium microfiber towels and applicators, meticulously crafted for protection. Unleash the power of precision and achieve that showroom shine. Autofiber, where innovation meets immaculate finish. Upgrade your detailing experience today. Visit autofiber.com and use the code DSP for 10% off your order. The difference is in the details. All right, I'm back with Kyle. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How about you, man?
You know, I'm living the dream. I don't know whose dream, somebody's dream.
As long as we're figuring it out.
Yeah, right. No, man, thankfully I've been staying a little bit busy in the shop lately. So I can't complain there. Finally getting back to making some money, so keeps the wife off my ass and you know you know how that goes.
I do, man. I do.
So listen, man, I reached out to you today and asked you, to jump on and be a part of this because I wanted to talk about trainings, and you kind of came to mind when I was trying to, find some people because like we talked about the last time I had you on, you've definitely done the education and done a lot of the trainings. I mean, I think you've taken every single training Rupes offers, plus some of the other ones that you've done. And then on the flip side, you worked for the Rupes, training facility. So you have kind of like that both mindsets, but the thing that kind of I've been thinking about because it's I sit back and I see a lot of things popping up and it just like the old Arsenio Hall used to say things that make you go and I see these things and it's like every day it seems like there's a training pops up and I feel like trainings now are starting to be like everything else with this industry and just kind of a little oversaturation where it's everybody and anybody now seems to be doing trainings. And there's definitely the tried and true, the reliables, the credited people, your Rupes, your Rennie Doyles, your Gloss University, Chicago Auto Pros, on and on and on, whatever.
Right.
But, then there's also kind of those guys like you've never even heard of before, and they're offering trainings at their shop on a weekend for, a few $100s and stuff like that. And then kind of everywhere in between, right? Like the old guys, the old guard, that are training and, maybe their ways are still kind of old technique ways and not with the new technique ways, maybe it's people that are just, way over the top or whatever. So I just kind of wanted to talk and, as somebody who might be looking at trainings, especially new people coming into this industry that want to better themselves, right? Like, how do you, and again, because you've kind of been there, how do you guide, or how would you, or what would you recommend to people to look for, in trying to pick that right training?
Right. I would look for what you want to be the expert in. If you want to be an expert in paint correction, you're going to know that, you want to go to one of those guided types of trainings. Rupes, list goes on and on, as we said. If you want to know about coatings, you're going to go to different people who hold different coatings. There's a lot of reasons I carry a lot of different coatings, and that's to know any coating inside and out. But you have to train on that coating and get certified on that coating to know that coating. So what I look for is the facility, the trainers. Have they been there before? Were they detailers before they did this, or are they just trainers? Either way is fine, but I think there's something that can be learned from all of those people, even if it's a little, like you
Yeah.
said, a business thing or some people learn detailing first and then business second, or business first and detailing second. So you really just need to look at the quality of the facility, the kind of trainings and people they're putting out when they're done with those trainings. But really, what do you want to learn? What do you want to be an expert in and be able to train your teammates or your workers
Yeah.
on? What you're going to be doing primarily. What do you do at your shop? That sort of thing.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, like, mentioning, checking out the facilities and things like that. I mean, it, for you, is it a facility? Is it a brand, or is it maybe the person, right? Because, yeah, you could go like, okay, Rupes, right? Like they've got the facility. I mean,
Right.
obviously they've got Jason Rose and Sarah, so they've got the training, kind of covered or whatever,
Right.
or some people could look at, an Aaron Knox or Jason
Yep.
Kilmer that maybe
Yep.
don't have,
Sanding gurus.
right. They don't have the facility or the
Right.
brand, so to speak, right? But they're
Mm-hmm.
the guys that have the knowledge. So, I think that's something else that kind of plays into it, like
Yep.
how, when you're trying to pick is, yeah, do you go for facility and good trainers, or do you go for somebody that's just badass and you might get a little bit more than you bargained for,
Right.
because I
And
because I
and it
definitely
does
know
go
when
with
I
your
went.
style.
Yeah, because I definitely know when I went to Noxie's, like, I was kind of like that Julia Roberts meme where like all the math equations, he's like telling me all this stuff, and I'm
Felt like
I'm
Rain Man.
yeah, yeah, like I'm like getting like maybe 10 or 20% of it,
Yeah.
because the guy just knows so much, and kind of the
Right.
same thing, I kind of feel the same way, not only when I did that, but I feel the same way like when I talk to David Patterson about stuff, or
Yep.
listening to Jason Kilmer talk about sanding, and it's just like, okay, you had me there and you lost me there,
Right.
um, so yeah, that's something else that I think has to factor into it.
It does, and I'll say the individual, or the person is the one that brings you in, whether it's Knox or Jason Rose or whoever that you're really drawn to. So I think something with training that goes hand in hand that not a lot of people talk about is mentorship.
Mm,
So look at your mentors and where they've trained, or do they offer trainings? So for a person like me back in the day, it was very easy, especially where I live, to seek out a Jason Rose and really pick his brain and go through it. But you're definitely right. Whether it's Knox or somebody else, there is so many individuals that know so much about detailing, but they're not all in a big facility. Some
yeah,
places, you got to go to his shop, or Justin Day's shop in Vegas to pick their brain. But those are people that you got to lean on and trust on, and look at your mentors. Where are they going? Where did they train? How did they learn? You know?
right. Yeah, and again, like you said, it was pretty easy for you when you decided to do it because you're what, stone's throw away from
Yep, like
Rupes pretty
30
much.
minutes.
So yeah.
Yep.
So when you were looking for that, I mean, was that kind of, hey, well, this is right, close by, it's easy for me to do, or was it more of like, it's Rupes, I got to go there, and I just
I
happen to
think
be
it
close.
obviously the commute was very easy, and like you just said, yeah, Rupes, I got to do it. I got to talk to these people that make these amazing machines that I use and see what's going on. But something really just clicked in me when I was on that end, as far as how they do classroom and hands-on time, and then put it together. There's always somebody that learns a little different. So
Yeah,
for me, it was something that I would take multiple classes, because I'm the type that needs to write it, needs to do it. I need to see it and see why it works, and then I need to do it with my hands. So the way that they had their training set up, it became very easy for me to, like a sponge, soak it all up, whether it
right.
was Jason or Sarah or Todd or Dylan at the time, or whoever was there. Even more so to this day, they have even more people now. They're just a wealth of knowledge. So when I was looking at that, I I started when I started training looking at the price of trainings and what do you get for that training. But then, like you said, I looked at who was going to be there because sometimes there's two trainers that you wanted to get trainings from at one location, and it's the best of both worlds. I think the first training I ever did at Rupes was a Mike Phillips, Auto Geek, and Rupes training. So I got to train with Jason. I got to train with Mike Phillips, and not either one is right or wrong, but they're different styles.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
nice to learn that from old school boat Mike, and then
Yeah.
that from old school mobile detailer Jason. And it's yeah, that's at least what drew me into them.
Yeah. No, and that's a good point too, because you can learn, if you can get into one where there's multiples, right? And that was one of the things I liked about the Gloss University training that I attended,
Right.
because it was JVP, it was Kilmer, it was Knox, it was Maddie, and then on top of that you had, Eric Joseph was there with G Tech at the time.
Yep.
Dylan was there with Rupes,
Right.
and then not that he did any training, but Mike Ring got up and talked a little bit here and there about stuff. So
Yeah.
you got a wide variety, and you could, and it's definitely different, right? Like I remember Noxie showing me how to razor blade um, a paint drip on a run on a
Right.
car, right? And
Hmm.
then, so he shows me what to do. I'm doing it. And he's like, cool. And he leaves. And then Kilmer comes over and he's like, nah, Noxie showed you that trick, didn't he? He's like, hang on. And then Kilmer's like, let me show you my way. Right. So
Right.
you can definitely tell even though you're doing the same technique or the same
Hmm.
process, that there
Right.
are definitely different techniques to try to pick up on and see which works better for you.
Right. And in detailing, there's so many different paint types. There's so many different interior types, materials,
Yeah.
substrates. So if you can learn something from everyone and pick that little bit of knowledge from each one, you can do what my mom always told me when I was little, and it's learn a bit from everyone you meet and gain your own collective
Yeah.
knowledge from them.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of those that kind of go on like that. I mean, I know Gloss University does, one or two a year or something, but those guys are all super busy.
Right.
I know obviously with Rupes, like when you go to Rupes, it's pretty, almost cookie cutter. I feel like, they have their outline, their syllabus or whatever. It's,
Right.
paint correction and sanding, and that's kind of it, unless somebody tags on and does a coating or something like that.
Right.
One interesting one that I've seen that popped up, and who's that? Cam. We pronounce words funny. Um, is and I got the invite to go. I just don't know if it's going to be in the budget for me to go and attend as a as the podcast, not actually
Oh, right.
as a trainee or whatever.
Yep.
But Beasley's is doing one in Chicago. I believe it's in April sometime, beginning of April. But
Okay.
what's cool about that one is it's 5 days, and they're doing it in conjunction with Chicago Auto Pros. So you
Yep.
get, I think, like 2 days with Phillips at Beasley's, and then there's like a day at Chicago Auto Pros doing window tint. Then there's a day, I think, PPF, and then you also get the detail wise training. So you get the business side of it, right? So you're
Yep.
really kind of encompassing everything that you need, in a training in 1 week.
Right.
Um, now granted, I know it's probably not super affordable, but
Well, and it's
you know,
not going to be, but you have to tell yourself it's a multiple day training. And
yeah,
like you just hit the nail on the head, you're going to learn detailing, you're going to learn business, you're going to learn PPF, you're going to learn tint. And you and I both know on one hand how many places do that at one location.
Right. Yeah.
So
Not many. Yeah.
no,
Exactly.
to backtrack and answer your question again, I would go to a place like that first. A
Yeah.
Chicago Auto Pros, a place that you can learn it all from a wide variety of people, variety. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And then from that point, you can really say, "Oh, I want to go more for this. I want to go more for that." Okay, well, I need more business. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And again, and that's like I kind of said, right? Like it's not going to be cheap, and that's where I think people when they're looking at trainings or looking to do trainings is, that's like everything else in the world, right? Like that's the first thing we look at. How much
Yep.
is it going to cost me, right?
Yep. Got to
And
get there.
right, and I've really started, ever since I started this business, I've really started looking at everything how how this, a lot of people in this industry are always, oh, dude, they're so cheap. My customers are so cheap, or that customer's so cheap, or, yeah, well, everybody's looking for a deal. Like I guarantee everybody who's listening to this that details that bitches about a customer being cheap, when they go to, Best Buy or Home Depot or whatever, like, oh my God, it's so expensive. I need to find the cheaper version of it. So like I've always started looking at things of, especially in a training, no matter what you're spending, right? If it's $700, if it's $1,500, if it's $2,000, what are you going to get out of it in the long run? Like, how is that going to elevate your business, and how much money can you make off that, right? Like it's kind of like the Rupes machines, right? Like that's the biggest thing everybody bitches about. Oh my God, it's $400. I can't spend that much money, right? But how much money is that machine going to make you over time, right?
Yep, and how quick is it going to pay itself off?
Right. And if you go into a training and do like what you did, right? Like you absorb it like a sponge. You go home and put those things into action. You'll make that money back quick. And a lot of times, depending on the training, a lot of these trainings you get free stuff, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, how can you not go home and use free stuff to make your money back?
It. And I know everywhere is different, but from an insider's perspective, most trainings at Rupes, whatever pads you're using, whatever small consumables you're using, Sarah's got you set up with a to-go bag, and if you can't take it with you on a plane, they'll ship it to you, and a lot of places do that, whether it's swag or whatever. But you're right, it gives you a little bit of homework to go home and put that elbow grease in, go to your shop, try that technique that he suggested. And it's, oh my God, the amount of stuff you've seen it that you get from SEMAs or mobile techs or training in general, you have to take advantage of that.
Yeah. And that's
what you're paying for.
Right. And you definitely have to. I mean, it's one of the things, I want to say it was when I was talking with Jerry, and Jerry I was asking Jerry why he chose the detailing success training with Rennie Doyle, know, and he said he did a 1 day, that was close to him, and immediately went home and implemented the things that he learned.
Yep.
And then realized he had that hunger to learn more. So how he could make it more. Right. And that's the way that it's got to be done. I know I've talked to Rennie a lot of times, and Rennie kind of uses that, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right? Like you can get them to the training, you can teach them all the right things, but when they go home, if they don't implement it, then why did they go to the training for?
Exactly.
And that's where I do believe, when you're looking at pricing, and you have to go, okay, that is a bit expensive, but how quickly can I turn around and make that money back? I mean, it was, free training from Noxie for me the first time I went to him, and he's like, go home and raise your prices $200, right? I immediately went home and raised my prices $200, on everything. And, but if I would have paid him $1,200 and, 6 jobs, I would have made that money back. Just raising
Right.
just for him saying, raise your prices $200.
Well, and you don't know unless you talk to those
Yeah.
business-minded individuals that have done it. It's not a dirty question. We're all here to make money. Is to say, what do you charge for this? What do you charge for this? Well, your market is always going to be different,
Right.
California to Colorado to Florida. But no, I had a similar conversation with Adam Garvin, and he actually was in my state, either doing training or at someone's shop, and came by, and I was picking his brain, not only on a friend level, but on a business level. And I'm going, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? In the same way, he said, raise your prices on everything $200. You're low on this, you're low on that. But without someone like Knox or him that's been there and done it, you don't know,
Oh yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you just need to hear it from somebody else too. Like you might know that you're low, right? But you just don't have the confidence to, to go like, oh man, like, I'm going to raise my prices, because you're like, man, because I, it's definitely hard for me. I came from the car wash, right? I mean, you were at the car wash, you were paying, $299 for a bumper to bumper, a full, rotary cut, polish, wax, and a full interior detail. And,
not
I didn't
taping
think
much on the exterior, just getting it done.
Right. I didn't think anybody would, pay more than, $400 for, a polish and a coating or for whatever. And, so it, you get in your mind, or you get in your head, because you don't really know what people are willing to pay until you put a price out there. Right. I mean, I'm sure.
Or offer that expert service. You don't know your market.
No, exactly. And so that's sometimes is the key. Just talking to that somebody and having them reassure you, like, do it. You're going to be fine. People are going to pay it. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
And again,
price goes up on everything, and no one says a word, whether it's gas or it's that old meme or thing. They're going to pay that for Jordans. They're going to pay that for jewelry. They're going to pay that, in my case, for that video game that you want. So don't feel bad to offer your time and materials that you want to get back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is people are they just lack that confidence to do that,
training.
Yeah. And again, I think that is something that if more people did when they got into this industry, if they took a training, regardless of, pretty much where it comes from, as long as it's a pretty reputable one or whatever, I think people would understand that the difference between, charging $400 and giving something away versus charging $1,200 or $1,500 for the same thing, right?
Right, and realizing there's no problem still having that $400 and some express, what I would call it, package for a customer with Uno Protect or something like that. But there's that high ticket item, there's that low ticket item, but you got to be able to be in between there. But you need training to do it, to know how to do the express the right way without ruining something. To know how to do the high end one that has to be properly prepped before you lay that coating. So it's all in the training, man.
Yeah, Mike, you just hit on the head what I was getting ready to say. So Mike says more of the training needs to be aimed towards the business, in his opinion. And I was just getting ready to say that, I know some of these trainings do kind of incorporate, especially Chicago Auto Pros with Detail Wise, Detailing Success. The Gloss University does incorporate some of the business side of it. But it's kind of like I was talking with Grant Menard the other night. It's the business isn't the flashy side, right? Like everybody wants to make paint shiny, and that's all fun and games. But if you don't know how to run a business, it doesn't matter how shiny you can make the paint, right? Because we've all seen it, right? There's there's great detailers, phenomenal detailers, but they're terrible business people and they can't stay in business, or they're, whatever, right? And then there's
Yep.
the flip side. There's a guy who's great in business. Maybe he
Yep.
sucks at polishing paint.
Doesn't want
Okay.
to learn anything.
Right. But he's so good at business that he's, lined out the door, and people are
Yep.
like, what is he doing different than me? Like, his
That's
work
it.
sucks, he's just a better business person.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So
what you concentrate on, Alex. You hit the nail on the head, and so did he. There isn't enough business training. I raised my hand right there because not only was I a construction guy out of high school, so I wasn't, in my opinion, college material or doing any type of job like that, but I dived so into detailing and so into detailing training that I didn't get any business training. Didn't have
yeah.
the business training. Had to learn that the hard way by doing it wrong and realizing you're giving money away, not making money, whatever it may be. So yes, the business, whether Rupes and Rennie and a couple other places touch on it and really do give you some good tools or calculators to use. But I would argue that's the most important part, and it's not
Yeah.
flashy. To your point, it's not taught.
Yeah, exactly. And that was I think the thing that, when um I asked Grant, like, how do you get people excited about it? He was like, they have to get excited on their own, right?
Yep.
Like, he's like, I'll tell them, because he's like, I'm very open with our business and numbers and everything like that. He's like, I'll tell them what they're doing, and then they'll go, well, how do I do that? Right. And then you've got them hooked, because you go, well, I can teach you, how I did it. And so you're getting them excited about, how you're doing, a $10,000 week, or, a $100,000 year, or, whatever. Right. And then once you get them excited about that, then you can, get them excited to actually, learn the stuff.
Well, and that's part of it. There's books, there's customer experience, there's customer pleasing results. There's so much from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listen, let's jump into a first commercial break. I want to read a couple of these comments, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more. We'll be right back. A leading provider of tint, paint protection film, and ceramic coatings. Experience the transformation as you cool down your vehicle and elevate its curb appeal with Audubon's window tint. Ditch rock chips and scratches by fortifying your paint with Audubon's cutting-edge paint protection film. And for an additional safeguard, add a ceramic coating. Backed by an unwavering lifetime warranty, Audubon's products form automotive armor with no limits. Visit AudubonFilms.com to delve deeper into the realm of automotive care and protection. So Joel LaPalm's got a good one here. He says he's asked many installers, let's take a look at your P&L and let's figure out where you need help. And so many people look at him, like, what?
Yep. What's a P&L?
That's a guy, right? Joel's a guy that I don't necessarily think that I want him to train me in paint correction. No offense, Joel. But Joel's a businessman. He's not a detailer, right? Like, I want Joel to tell me, hey, look, here's how you make your money. Yep. Here's what you do, things like that, right? Because again, look what he's done with IGL since taking it over in a short time and things like that. So, that's, I think, kind of, somebody like him or Rennie or even Greg from Detail, Chicago Auto Pros.
Detail Wise?
Detail Wise. I don't know why it escaped my mind for a second. Because Greg's more business than Jason, even though Jason's no slouch or whatever. But like you were saying earlier, like looking at the people or looking at the facilities, like if I'm going to go to a business, I want to look at the business owners.
Yep.
I want to look at the people that are growing these businesses and go take a business class from them. Um, so yeah, I think that's a great one,
You
Joel.
need a training mentor, you need a business mentor. But if you can get that both
Yeah.
at one training, you're winning.
And sometimes you can. Sometimes I mean, there's plenty of guys out there that are killing it in business and killing it with paint. So you can find it all in one. And that kind of leads me a little bit into the next thing that I kind of wanted to discuss or talk about is the oversaturation of like these trainings now and how hard it is to kind of pick out because again it almost like with everything else it seems like everybody's prices are coming down trying to get people in and again on like we were just talking before the commercial break like oh my gosh it's expensive I don't know if I can afford it and that's another thing I think that's tough right now is with the economy right like we're seeing a slowdown in business as much as people might not want to admit to it or not I constantly talk to people that are telling me they're not as busy as they were last year or the year before or whatever so it's definitely makes it harder to choose that training you're going to go to because you could definitely go and come back and probably in a couple jobs make your money back but it's being able to shut your shop down for 2 days 3 days a week whatever airfare hotel expenses it's not cheap to do these trainings
and you and I have talked about it whether it's SEMA or mobile tech beforehand that you got to have the money to go do it but at the same time you're not in the shop making that money so you hit the nail on the head it's something you have to look at in the past and still what I try and do is a training per diem that I give myself so I'll have so much in a whole nother account or envelope wherever you want to put it that is just for training of some kind whether it's the ticket to get into the training, the travel to get there, the time away from the shop, whatever that may be. But no, even mine in recent years has shrunk to the point where I have to now choose, okay, what in-state trainings are happening? Or do I want to just go to SEMA this year and not mobile tech? And, so it's definitely a different economy. And you have to look at that. Where can you afford to go,
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk to you about that because I remember you mentioned it when we had you on the show last time. Like, how do you, because I think it's a great idea, right? So anybody who's listening to this that goes, oh man, maybe I should do that, like a little separate, savings account or whatever it may be. How much do you are you putting away like a certain amount every month or, per job, like, hey, I'll take, $5 off of, whatever jobs and put into this training thing and save it up. Like, how do you do that? How do you figure it out? How do you work it? How do you,
I try and take a bit from each job. And then if you can't, you're taking a bit every time you can. Same logic of putting that penny or dollar in a jar and keep putting it in there. Eventually, before you know it, you have enough to where you can do a training or a SEMA or something like that. Now, my wife will tell you in past years, I have not been good about doing that. So when you don't do that, on the other hand, it becomes a problem. You're suddenly going someplace that you weren't thinking about going, and your shop is shut down, and you haven't saved that money to do it. So basically, just save, like you said, a little bit from every job you do, a little bit from every month that you've done well, put a bit aside, and just like you would for taxes or anything else, try and save that little bit you can, even if it's in an envelope of your future training, where you want to go, your bucket list training, where else you need to go.
Yeah.
And like I said a bit ago, look at what trainings are maybe held in your state. There could be some from a very good individual like Justin in Las Vegas that knows paint correction really well, that knows PPF really well. You can get in at a cheaper price to him. It's Las Vegas. It's a lot more easily accessed by people. So you need to look at who's offering what where.
Yeah, exactly. Cam had I hate to admit this, but Cam had a pretty good deal here. Cam said, do background checks on people doing trainings. And if they have a big social media following, but all the established guys in the industry say they are a fuckwit, probably don't get a training from them. And I think he's right there, right? Because I mean, obviously, you see these social media influencers or people that have a huge following,
YouTube certified.
and all of a sudden, they're all of a sudden they're doing a training. But again, right, because they have such a big following, anybody that's maybe new into the industry or doesn't know enough and gets on Instagram, and sure, they're following this person because they have that huge following. They probably have a bunch of other people that they follow that person, and they're just going to be like, oh well, they're big on Instagram, so I'll go contact them for a training or whatever. Joel said influencers are not trainers.
That's true.
That's
you
why
gotta know what you're doing. It's
that's
not
why
making
I
a
have
video.
yet to start training. I don't even know if I'm an influencer, let alone a trainer. But
that's awesome. I love Joel.
Michael Turner had another good one. Peer review is brutal, but usually honest. So definitely, if you can reach out to people that have taken those courses or those classes and see what they learned, how it benefited them, did it increase their business or things like that,
right.
It would be another excellent way.
Well, and ask other trainers. I've heard people ask Sarah at Rupes what other places she recommends. So there's a million other trainers, real trainers, that will tell you what they think and where else you should go.
Yeah. Even Noxie did that on that little video, the video he made for the Andrew Wax training. Because it's like most of the Rupes stuff, I think that training's $1,200. I mean, I'll tell you what, the cool thing I think that Tommy did for that was they're doing payment through Shop.
Oh, that's cool. So you can do,
dude, you could break that $1,200 into $100 a month for 12 months. Like that, I think is genius.
Well, and I think you'll see a lot more trainers doing that, facilities doing that.
Right. Because here's the thing, right? Like me looking at it and going, if I didn't have the money to go, I would go, well, shoot, $100 a month. I mean, we kind of hate doing things on credit. We unless it's a, something big, that we put on a credit card and then we pretty much pay it off, when the bill comes around.
Right.
But, so, I mean, I would hate to put something on a credit, but realistically, if you couldn't afford $100 a month, then you probably definitely should be taking a training to figure out how to make $100.
Well, and again, look at those in-state trainings. See how you don't need to travel anywhere to learn something from someone, maybe you live by Knox or you live by somebody else,
But even in that video, Noxie, kind of put it out there. If you can't come to this and you want to do a training, message me and I will tell you, who to go with or where trainings are, things like that. So, kind of back to your point of, asking other trainers or other people, who they recommend. Joel's got another good one here. I believe it's Joel. Yeah. Interview the person that you're considering learning from. If they are offended, then they are not the person to learn from. And when a trainer thinks they are too good to answer questions about what they will be training, turn around and walk away. Absolutely.
Mic drop, Joel. He comes in with the knowledge every time, man.
Exactly. Again, that's why you go to Joel for these smart things.
The business, man.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this, because this is something else that I think of. So usually when people are going to trainings, they kind of have an idea of what they want to learn, or maybe the things that they want to try,
Mhm.
right? So when you're going to a training, do you look at, like, okay, well, they're training this and I kind of want to know that, but they're training this other thing, and I don't really care about that. I really only care about this one thing, but I can't get that one thing unless I do this
Right.
training. Or do you look at a training that you could go to and be like, look, I want to learn A, B, C, and
Hmm.
D, and they're going to teach you A, B, C, and D. Because that's what Noxie did when I went to him. Noxie's like, what do you want to
Right.
learn? And I was like, dude, I want to learn wet sanding, but I don't want to learn like full car wet sanding. I'm not going to do that. I'm not
Right.
doing show stuff. I just want to know how to take some scratches out. I want you to kind of, critique my polishing, my correcting skills, show me where, maybe I'm doing it wrong, how I could get better. um, and that's what I think made the training so much better for me, was that it was what I wanted,
Right.
not what he wanted to train me, right?
Well, and the way that Joel was saying to interview the trainer that's going to be training you, he's not wrong. And to answer your question, I looked for the places that, like Noxie, will how would I say, would customize that training to what I
Yes.
want to learn. I
Right.
know personally, Rupes does that. Before every class, Jason or Sarah, excuse me, will ask you, what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? What do you do? Da 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 da. A little bit of that. Whereas some places, you're right, they're just, this is what we're learning, this is what we're doing today, this is what time lunch is, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, you want to look for places that are kind of an open book. Here's all of our stuff. What do you want to learn?
Yeah, for sure. And for the most part, I think any of the, like you said, with Rupes or whatever, I think most of those bigger branded or recognizable training facilities are going to do that. I mean, they're still obviously going to have a, hey, we're going to touch on this, we're going to
Right.
touch on
There's the
this, we're
stuff
going to
you're
go
going
to
to
lunch
do. That's
here.
why you're there.
Right, right. But they are going to say, well, what do you want to learn, and then cater it towards that. I mean, that was one of the things that I did with Gloss University, when they broke down into the sanding part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, I had already gone to Noxie's. I learned the little stuff. I
So
wasn't,
you're like,
I
let's do
didn't,
some
yeah, I mean,
emails.
because Rupes broke off, and Dylan was doing, the sanding with the palm
Right.
sanders and
His
stuff like
demo.
that, right? Right. And then Kilmer Knox broke off, and they were doing, hand
Mm-hmm.
sanding. So, and then they did that for like 20 minutes or so, and then you switched, right?
Right.
Well, I wasn't really interested in either.
Okay.
So what I did was, but I was curious about sanding with the machine. So I went onto one of the hoods by myself, and I grabbed a Bigfoot 15 DA and slapped one of the Rupes sanding discs on it,
Mm-hmm.
and just started playing with it. And Dylan came over to me and he's like, "Well, why aren't you using, the handheld?" And I told Dylan, I said, "Well, I don't have a handheld
Right.
in my shop. I have
Yeah, you could be
this,
a mobile guy who
and
doesn't
and
have that.
and if right, and if I'm going to, experiment with this, I want to go with what I have in my
Yep.
shop, not having to buy something, especially because I won't be doing it, a full time sort of thing." So it was kind of cool, because then Dylan said, "Okay, well, listen, it's a long throw machine, so it is going to cut harder and faster, with the sanding. So you're not going to be able to run it like you can run it with the hand sander."
Right.
So then we sat there and played with it and figured out, the um, right amount of
Runtime.
of time to actually run it without doing too much damage, or, not hitting it enough.
Right.
So like that was kind of cool, because I broke off on myself by myself to do something I wanted to
Yep.
do, and then he came over and jumped on it with
You,
me.
you do your own little R&D, and they show you a better way to do it that you didn't know how to do it. And he's exactly right. they're the ones that taught me. It's always going to cut harder with that machine than one
Yeah.
that's made to
Yeah.
sand. That doesn't mean you can't
Right.
use it, because like you said, there's mobile detailers that don't have the air or the shop to be able to do that.
Right. And the cool thing about that I took away from what he was telling me with that on sanding was then it clicked to me all the times that everybody told me about overcycling or overheating
Yep.
because, those machines cut faster with compound and
Right.
polish. So if you're just, willy nilly 18 passes up and down, back and forth,
Yep.
you're doing more damage. Yeah, the product might be spreading or have that longer work time, to be able to do that, but you're cutting and you're doing more damage. And so by him telling me that with the sand, with the
X-cut.
the paper pad, yeah, made me go, oh, now I get why everybody says that you should do short cycles when you're compound and polishing,
Right.
because it's cutting harder, it's cutting faster. With that long throw, you don't need that.
Well, and
So,
especially with
playing
damp
around
sanding
with,
like they train,
yeah,
you're right. You're removing more material, compounding and polishing, than you would be with their damp sanding system.
right, right. So playing around with one technique gave me information on a completely different
Yep.
technique
Brain's
that
like,
when I took back to the shop, then I was like, okay, I need to cut my pass time down a lot
yeah.
because I am overworking this.
Yep.
I'm overdoing it. And now I keep my panels a lot cooler
Well,
too.
and your wipe off's easier, everything, right?
Yeah,
You're like, oh my God,
exactly.
it wasn't just this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, let's do our last commercial break, and we'll come back and kind of wrap this up. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Knows what a detailer wants. Aquatech is a company founded by detailers for detailers.
Aquatech Coatings is a company that was founded on the frustrations that we all face as professional detailers. And that is why we set out to build a company that eliminates those frustrations, to provide excellent customer service, quality products, reliability, efficiency, products that check all the boxes as professional detailers we need and we want.
Find out why so many detailers around the world are loving the Aquatech difference. Join our team today at aquatechcoatings.com.
Yeah, so Noxie chimed in and he says, I showed you that 8 times in a row, you lump. Sorry,
But
Dylan was just better.
That he's like,
Dylan was better at teaching me than you were, apparently. Dylan only had to tell me once.
That's like Rupes and me. I'm so hard-headed. I had to do each class multiple times because I wasn't listening.
Yeah. But again, like I said earlier, when Noxie starts telling you things, it's you go into that Julia Roberts meme of all the equations and everything because it's just so it's cheeseburger drunk. Probably.
Bit of both.
Yeah, those are some damn good cheeseburgers at that hotel I stayed at when I was up there. But yeah, so no, man, I think it's I think that hopefully with some good information on here about how to go about these trainings and pick the right ones and things like that, because again, like I said at the beginning, it just seems like there's a lot of them out there right now.
Yep.
It seems it's almost like what's the saying, those who can do and those who can't teach, so it's like you start seeing all these like trainings pop up and you're like, are you busy in your shop though, like because trying to make some extra money, bro, because you can't fill the shop up.
And something we didn't say earlier that I want to backtrack and say, look at a certain ceramic coating that you maybe want to learn about, see if that facility or if that company is maybe hosting a training at another location, so you can do 2 for 1. You can learn the paint correction, you can learn the coating, you can get certified in both. So that's another thing to think about when it comes to trainings.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, and that's, kind of back to the beginning of the show, the Jesscar Angel Wax training that I'll be at, poking fun at Noxie and having a blast with Tommy and Rick and everything. then also, you know, the Rupes Aquatech one.
Yep, that's what I was just
that
gonna
one,
say.
you know, yeah. So I mean, not only are you, you know, you're getting the Rupes training, you're getting the Aquatech training.
Jen, Sarah,
And
you can't
it's,
beat that.
yeah, yeah. Jason Rose is going to
Oh,
be
yeah,
with that at that one as well, right?
you're
So,
winning.
you know, I feel like, yeah, you go for Jason Rose and you leave with some Aquatech.
Yeah,
You know,
leave with the ladies. Say, I'll see you later,
you
Jason.
go for Aaron. Yeah, you go for Aaron Knox. You leave with some Angel Wax. You know, like,
Only if you bring oatmeal
you know,
pies. That's the only way. I don't know if
yeah,
anyone realizes
yeah,
that. They want that swag.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, listen, Kyle, you know, for anybody who maybe is catching you for the first time, you know, if anybody would want to reach out to you and maybe pick your brain on, you know, your many times of taking trainings at the Rupes Academy, and then your many times of training at the Rupes
Right.
Academy, you know, nobody heard Kyle's first episode. He took so many trainings, they put him on payroll, you know,
It's
they
like,
told
where's
him
the
to start
offense?
training himself.
I'm
Yeah,
here all the
exactly.
time.
Yeah. But yeah, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you, you know, to maybe pick your brain or ask you some questions?
Obviously through social media, at kylesautomotivedetailing.com, on Facebook, or myself, Kyle Camus, on Facebook. On Instagram, we're at 303KAD. I think the same on TikTok. And my shop number, if you ever want to give me a call, 303-961-2134, and just shoot me a call. We can chat.
Awesome. Listen, buddy, I appreciate you doing this kind of short notice. You know, Joel said it was a great show. People just need to stop following the noise and search for true trainers and mentors. So
Get your ego out of the way. You'd be surprised what'll happen.
exactly. So if you're looking for a training, curious about trainings, there's plenty of great ones out there. Just do the research, talk to
IGL,
people.
we didn't talk about that one. There's tons.
Yeah, they have a great training facility in Kentucky, that they do all their stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, right? The list goes on and on and on. I mean, I talked with Ken Mercer last week or so from Stark. You know, they have an amazing marine training facility, that they train on boats and stuff like that. No, Cam, I don't accept charges from international calls.
He's trying.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate you, Cam, for being on. It's been a while since you've been on, buddy, or watched. So yeah, but all right, man, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna wrap this up so I can start the 2-hour download process before I go to bed tonight, so I can go up tomorrow morning. But thanks again, buddy, for jumping on. I appreciate you. I appreciate, you know, for you helping me out. And dude, I definitely love all the positive affirmations you send me. So just keep sending those.
Anytime, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate all you guys. That's why I do it.
Thanks, buddy. All right, I'll talk to you later, man. Take
Peace.
care. Bye. All right, so trainings. Do your research, do your homework, do your due diligence. You know, talk to some people, whether people that you know that have taken these trainings, or, you know, like Kyle said, you know, talk to other trainers. You know, if they're not doing a training that you can make it to, you know, talk to them and see if they can get you somebody in your area. Definitely, you know, anything business oriented is gonna probably help you the most. So if you can definitely find one that's you know, that has that as an added bonus, you're gonna be you know, probably better off than just learning shiny paint. That's all I've got. I appreciate everybody for listening. Take care and have a great day, night, weekend, whenever you're listening to this.